What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So before I get into this video, I want to give a big shout out to the brother JB for the $10 donation via the Cash App. Man, you guys have been very generous today. Most respect to you guys for showing love to Too Raw for TV, aka Too Raw for Sports, aka Too Raw Media. So I got a question, and the question was, whose jersey would you retire, Penny or T-Mac? Well, one is a player that many of us feel should not be in the Hall of Fame, all right? And then there's one who many of us feel was robbed of a first ballot Hall of Fame career, right? The one who was robbed was Penny Hardaway. I still have to say, out of all the shooting guards that I've seen in my last 33 years of watching NBA basketball, well, 33 years of watching NBA basketball, peak for peak, I have to put him third behind Jordan and Kobe. Peak for peak. Peak for peak. That's how good Penny Hardaway was. He wasn't a guy that was going to drop 30, 35 points per night on a daily basis. That wasn't his makeup. He was primarily a facilitator who, when needed, would become an offensive force or would go into an offensive mode. Although he did have nights when he would drop 30, 35, maybe even 40 points. But Penny, man, when it comes to his potential, bro, like, that dude was a beast, bro. He could score in the post, his back to the basket, he could back you up. He had the mid-range. He developed a fadeaway jumper. He was improving his outside shot. He could drive the basket. He was a decent defender. Becoming a good one. Actually, I would say he was a good one. He was decent when he came to the NBA. He became a good one. He was a really, really, really good facilitator, borderline on great. He really didn't have any weaknesses. Man. Penny was scary. And I know some younger people look at his numbers and be like, we don't see what you're talking about. You had to watch him play. You had to watch him play to see what I'm talking about. But, alas, his career was not Hall of Fame worthy. He had some really good years, Orlando Magic, but by 1997, 98, he was already having knee issues. And back then, the knee surgeries were still pretty invasive. And he kept having problems with his knees and other issues, and after a while, man, those surgeries robbed him of his athleticism. And, he became pretty much like a role player after, 2000, 2001, and he was out the league by, 08, 07? It was pretty sad, man. Tracy McGrady, however, was able to put together something of a career. But there's still something left to be desired about his career. He didn't play in the postseason often. He never played out. He never, in any meaningful years at least, advanced past the first round. I don't count that last year with the Spurs because he wasn't really he wasn't on the roster really until the end. So this guy never got the first round. Now, he did have some great years. The one thing I do have to put out there is he did have a decade of dominance. From 2000 to 2009, he averaged over 26 points a game. So, in my opinion, that alone makes him a Hall of Famer. I just don't think it makes him a first ballot Hall of Famer. You know what I'm saying? it makes him like a lower tier Hall of Famer. But the question was, which one of these guys deserve to have their jersey retired? And I would have to go with Tracy McGrady when he was a Houston Rocket. Just because he played there longer. He played there longer, and he had a little bit more team success with the Rockets than he did with the Orlando Magic. Now, Penny had a lot of team success with the Magic, but his tenure, I don't know if it was that long. I'm trying to think, 93 to what, 99? That is 5 years, but I don't know. Off the top of my head, I would have to go with Tracy. Let's look at some stuff. Tracy McGrady. All right, let's look at his stats as a Rocket. He played 6 years in Orlando. 6 years with the Houston Rockets. Appeared in 303 games, averaged 36.7 minutes a night. He averaged 22.7 points, 5.5 rebounds, 5.6 assists, 1.3 steals. He shot 42% from the floor, 32.2% from the field, and 73.7% from the free throw line. Now, those aren't exactly eye-popping numbers. You know what I'm saying? They're good, and in the context of the area he played in, that they're pretty good. But let's look at something else. Let's look at the Rockets from a team standpoint when he was there. I think his first year was 2004, 2005. Yeah. They went 51-31 that year, third in the Southwest Division, lost in the first round to the Mavericks. All right, the next season, 34-48, didn't make the playoffs. Now, did he have an injury that year? Yeah, he missed for 35 games that year. So you can use that as an excuse, perhaps, that he was hurt. Next year, 52-30, lost in the first round to the Utah Jazz. The next year, 55-27. But once again, lost in the first round to the Utah Jazz. Next year, 53-29. Now, McGrady, if not mistaken, got hurt in the middle of the season and didn't play in the playoffs. So technically, even though the team went to the semifinals and lost to the Lakers, Tracy didn't play. He was hurt. Because I definitely remember Brooks. What was his name? Brooks was like their featured guy in the backcourt. Aaron Brooks. That's right, Aaron Brooks. So let's look at Tracy. Let's look at Penny Hardaway. All right, so Penny Hardaway played 6 seasons in Orlando, averaged 19 points, 4.7 rebounds, 6.3 assists, 1.9 steals, 47.2% shooting from the floor, 31.1% from the three, and 76.6% from the foul line. Now, in his years in Orlando, let's look. Let's see. His first year, they lost in the first round to the Pacers. His next year, he's an all-star. They go all the way to the NBA Finals and get swept by the Rockets. In '96, he's an all-star. They lose in the conference finals to the Bulls. They get swept. In '97, this is after the departure of Shaq. He's an all-star again. I believe that year they lost in the first round to Miami, but Anthony Hardaway put on a show in that series against the Heat. I think they lost 3-2, but he He put on the show, averaging 31 points a game in that series. And then in '98, his last year as an All-Star, although he only appeared in 19 games. I can't remember what they did that year. I don't think they made the playoffs that year. So, man, now I'm actually looking at the numbers and the team accomplishments. I was having a edge to Tracy, but I don't know now, man. Who deserves to have their jersey retired more? Well, I mean, you could argue Penny had Shaq. You know, Tracy had Yao Ming, but he wasn't Shaq. He was great, but he wasn't Shaq. And the Western Conference was a lot more competitive then. Not to say the East wasn't competitive either, but man, McGrady never went to the finals. Never went to the conference finals. Man, oh man, oh man. I would have to say, you know what? Considering the fact that I never liked that McGrady wore Penny's number 1 anyway, even back then, 20 years ago, I'm going to go with Penny. I'm going to go with Penny having his jersey retired by the Orlando Magic. If he played 6 seasons there and did what he did, especially after Shaq making that team even relevant, I'm going to go with Penny. I'm going to go with Penny's situation. Penny should have his jersey retired before T-Mac. Because Penny really legitimately dealt with some serious career-altering and potentially career-ending injuries. And he came back knowing he wasn't the same guy. Hoped that he would work himself into becoming the Penny Hardaway old, but it never came to pass. But anyway, that's just my take on this, man. Tell me what you guys think.